Hello again, everybody. Welcome back to BSG. We're just gonna get started in a moment with Final Fantasy, but and we'll have plenty of time to talk as we go. I've already done the naming. Every character is named after one of the other organizers of BSG. I figured that was kind of a fitting thing to do here. And with that, let's just get started in 3, 2, 1, go. So
Good luck, Crrool. You can do this.
Thank you. So I'm going to actually focus for a little bit as we start, because the hardest part of the run is right away, and then we'll talk about the layout and why we went with what we went with. But I gotta do some frame-perfect menus here, which is always a bit of a thing. Okay, there we go. So yeah, you guys may have already noticed, I saw a few people in chat mention it already, but we're not quite using the layout that we normally use. What you're seeing in front of you right now is one of the, I think the very first layout that we used for BSG 5 years ago. So we're gonna do a real trip down memory lane right here. And it's actually not just that, but I think this is also the first game I ever ran at a BSG, which is Final Fantasy. Pretty broken game. We just glitched some pretty overpowered armor. We're gonna get some overpowered weapons, and we're just kind of gonna breeze through the game. Now, I will admit, one little thing that I wanted to mention regardless, I was considering actually running the same route as we did 5 years ago, you know, as a real trip down memory lane, but that would kind of take away time from other runners, and I figured I wouldn't do that. So, just a little things like that. Okay, we're gonna get past these goblins. So I will admit, it's a little, in a way, it's a little weird to run in a marathon where the entire premise is so different from what I'm used to. So, but one of the things I wanted to definitely talk about today is not so much this run itself. If you've been a long-time viewer of BSG, you'll have seen this before. The general idea is, like, we use a glitch that, a menu glitch that lets us transform weapons into armor and vice versa, and thus makes us really overpowered. You'll see that as we beat the first boss in a moment. But more so, over the course of this run, I also want to find out, I also want to talk about what, like, my experience with BSG, because in a way, like, it's really weird to think that it's already been 5 years since I first joined. For those of you that don't go back that far and that don't know everything behind BSG as much, I actually wasn't an organizer. Like, I wasn't there when BSG was created, but I was there for the first event, just as a runner. I kind of just come across it on the speedrun.com forums, where there was a forum for a Dutch speedrunning event. I was like, okay, yeah, that seems right up my alley. It wasn't too far away from me. So I got in touch with Jasper, the then head organizer of BSG, to just, you know, I did my submission. I got his phone number in case I couldn't find it, which was kind of like, because I was quite nervous going into BSG the first time around. I had no idea what to expect. I knew absolutely nobody at all. And I decided to just be like, okay, you know what? Let's just go for it. It's not too far away from home. I'm sure it'll be okay. And that weekend was above anything that I was expecting. I had a blast at the marathon. My runs I think they went pretty alright. I don't remember a whole lot about those particular runs. I can't remember going over estimates significantly or anything. But despite not knowing anyone, like, just, I got talking with a lot of people just other runners. I mean, we all have speedrunning in common at the end of the day. And it was just an absolute blast to be there. I was there all weekend, and after I went home, I was like, yeah, I want to go again. So, you know, a month later, because back then BSG was a monthly event, there I was again. And admittedly, on the side, I was trying to promote BSG a little bit, you know, get more people interested, see if we could get more people going to these events. Some of the people that have gotten in through me are actually still runners at BSG as well. One notable example, I'd say, is Yara, who's going to be running after this. He first joined around BSG 5, and I think he's one of the people who got in through me. And it was just... I don't know, it just felt natural just to try and get more people involved in it. It was such a fun, cozy little thing. It was... I don't know, it was just a good time all around. And, you know, as time went on, you know, BSG kind of grew. We started getting a little bit more of a set team. And I was asked to join the staff crew after BSG 3, which was kind of cool. So that's kind of how I got in there in the first place. Now, to recap a little bit on the game, because I imagine some people might have some questions on it. At the start, we glitched the Judgment Staff, which is a bonus dungeon exclusive item. Most powerful staff in the game. As a side effect, it can cast Flare. Wow, that NPC is in a bad position. I've never seen him be there before. But yeah, that's just how we defeated the first 2 bosses in the game. Like the first one, we just used the staff and just smack them on the head. The second boss, we just use Flare and that kills everyone. And with that, we get the ship, and now we can move on. This is the first, like, third of the game is just a giant side quest. The idea is we need to collect 4 crystals that'll open up a portal that allows us to travel back in time and defeat Garland, like the very first boss, once again in his original, more powerful form. Something like that. Now, in order to get to the first crystal, we have to do some giant fetch quests that has us travel around the entire area. So yeah, that's kind of the idea here. Our main problem that we're gonna have to deal with is the number of random encounters, because random encounters are just awful in this game. It's also what, beyond a certain point, makes this game really painful to run, even though it's a super easy run. This is another fun little thing. This is probably the game. I want to argue this might be the game that has been run the most at BSG. It's probably this or Rayman, just because of the sheer amount of people at BSG that run this. Okay, so we destroy the enemies, and then we can move on. Wow, come on. Literally 1 tile later. Game, please. But yeah, like, BSG 3 was kind of where things... I initially... I think the first BSG, this was what I ran, and maybe Final Fantasy 2 as well, because I've run that as well. I've submitted this game to, I think, every single one of the first, like, 10 BSGs or something. And it's gotten in quite a lot of them. Because one funny little thing early on at some point was we weren't always sure if we could run night shifts, just due to the... You know, at the time we were still quite small. We didn't really have that many runners. So, and that was still at the old BSG venue where we actually ran night shifts as well. And I think at some point, I don't remember exactly where that was, but I remember at some point saying, you know, regardless of the amount of submissions, we will make it work. And one BSG in particular stands out where we started with way too few submissions. I think that was BSG 12 or something. We had way too few submissions to actually be able to run a night shift. I was like, okay, well, we don't have enough. I'll throw in a 10.5-hour run and we'll have enough. So that was our graveyard shift. I ran that throughout the night, and that way we had enough runs again. We've had a lot of little things like that, so kind of funny that how sometimes those things just kind of worked out. That was definitely the longest run that's ever been at BSG. It's also the most exhausting run I've ever done. I think about 7 hours into that run, I was just half asleep, just trying to hang on. But it worked out, and we had some fun, and we met. That event was something. We've had a lot of longer games in graveyard shifts. We just called them graveyard shifts because everybody would be asleep, and it'd be the host, the tech guy, and the runner, and that was just about it. That was everybody in the room. Sometimes, depending on the run, we would have let's see, how do I say this? So sometimes, depending on the run that we would have like one or two people who stuck around because they wanted to watch that game specifically. And we've had I remember one graveyard shift as well where I did Final Fantasy VI, and I think we had the host just join on the couch, which is kind of fun, and then halfway through the run, the host switched to a different person because it was just such a long run as well. The night runs were always they were always interesting though, and when a night run would finish, it was always kind of a good time as well. Just we had this, like, back then BSG was in this like retro museum-ish with like an event space. It was a hacker space, and with like a little event space, and there would be this bar where we would just all chill afterwards. So we would always go there and then just chat and just have a good time. So yeah, by now we've gotten to Astos. What happens here story-wise is so in order to actually move on, we need basically the order that we do things is we need the ship. That's what we started with. Once we have the ship, we can get the crown. We need to show this crown to Astos, so he gives us the Mystic Eye, which has been lost by this mage or wizard or whatever, this woman Latoya, who's going to give us the Jolt tonic, so we can wake up the Elven Prince, who's been put in like an eternal sleep of sorts. Once we wake up the Prince, we get the Mystic Key, which we can open to get the Nitro Powder, which we need to blow up a piece of land so we can get a canal and actually progress into the rest of the world. Time-wise, we're making really bad time, by the way, and that's just, we're getting quite unlucky so far. Okay. That'll do. I need to kind of make sure that my health is in good spots, otherwise we're gonna have to wait around an ice cave later. Yeah, running away from enemies becomes easier after we get the Mystic Key, because then I'll get an item to help me run away from enemies. But yeah, like, the first few BSGs we've definitely, like, in the first early days of BSGs, we've had a lot of moments where we got so close in terms of submission counts that it was questionable sometimes whether we were even going to fill the schedule. I think that there's even been a point in time where we were technically short, so I just was like, okay, I'll submit an extra game and then we'll have enough. That's happened before as well. which is in stark contrast to how nowadays we often have way more submissions than we have time for. We run, please, game. We're getting really unlucky with the encounters. I've had a lot of them, and I've had a lot of early ones. Yeah, just fit the legendary 8-run Crrool submission. Yeah, we've had those. Which actually brings me kind of... I'm going to skip back and forth a little in time to our first BSG annual, where, as we went, we kind of got to a point where we were like, okay, we've done a bunch of these weekend events. We kind of want to do something big, like a big event with more people, a week long. So that's kind of... And we were just at... I think before we even got to the main planning part, one of the first things we did was count out if we could get enough submissions to even fill the week. So we counted out everybody's games and their lengths, just to see if everybody submitted their games, if we would even have enough to get it working, which we barely did. We were really unprepared for BSG for the first BSG annual. It was something, that event. So me and Crrool, which is one of the other organizers at the time, we actually started contacting a bunch of venues. I think in the span of like 2 days, we contacted somewhere like 70 to 80 different locations. All being like, hey, this is what we want to do. Is this possible at your place? Just to see if we could find a spot that would be affordable for us, that we could just make it work. And we ended up at this scouting venue, which is like basically like Boy Scouts, which they had a pretty big location. There was no internet there. The internet what we ended up doing is the guy living like diagonally across the street, who was still quite involved with that location. I think it was like former scoutmaster, basically, something along those lines. The details are a little foggy, but he was willing to basically pull an internet cable for us through the trees across the street, and that cable went through the roof of the venue, and that's how we got our internet, which worked surprisingly well. I think we've had one day that entire week with a little bit of internet issues, but for almost the entire event, it just ran smoothly somehow. And they managed to do that entire thing for us for almost no cost at all. They were really, really helpful in everything we were trying to do to make that work. Like they knew what they were doing, obviously, but it was a very sketchy setup. That entire event, we were not at all prepared. I won't lie, we were not prepared for that. I think day 1, or well, day 0, basically the day before we went live, we kind of thought we had everything settled, and then I'd been working until like 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. to get things ready, make sure that everything was set up, that we were done packing. Hold on, I'm gonna quickly do this menu, and then we'll continue story time. So yeah, we were up. I was up until like 2 a.m., 3 a.m., just making sure everything would be packed, everything would be ready to go, that we would have everything we would need to make the event work. So I went to bed thinking, okay, they're coming over at, I think it was like 11 that they were supposed to come over with the van, to like pick up all of the gear that was at my place. The next day, I think 7 a.m., I got woken up. Yeah, remember that van Yeah, it's not here. There's no van. What do we do? Yeah, we were streaming everything on Twitch at the time as well. That was actually on this channel. It still had a different name at the time because we only name changed a little later. But that was on this channel. We were much smaller then than we are now, but that was definitely a thing. Yeah, I got woken up at like 7 a.m. with like remember that van? We don't have one. And I think I ended up telling Jasper, the then head organizer, like, okay, just start driving, start picking up the other stuff. I'll see what I can do. Didn't we name change after annual? Because I think after the first annual, we got, like, the account became partnered, and I think along with the partnership, we may have gotten name change. I don't, like, again, the details are a little foggy. Or it might have been when they introduced name changing, which was not too far off from that point. The moment they introduced name changing, we pretty much immediately went for it. But yeah, so what I started doing that morning was I started calling around to all the local gas stations and whatnot to see if they have those. I don't know what they're called in English. The word escapes me right now, but it's like an extra like thing you can put behind your car to carry more stuff in.
A trailer.
Yeah, a trailer. Thank you. Yeah, so we ended up getting one. Not too far off route, mind you. We managed to get one, and we actually managed to get everything in there somehow. Which was, I think, a couple kilometers off the original route. So we were like, okay, we have something settled. I called with Jasper to let them know, and then we figured out that the car we were using wasn't able to actually pull a trailer. So we had a trailer, but no car to use it. So that caused even more delays, and at some point, I had to start driving because I had to get the key from the venue. So I think I want to say my brother stayed at my place so he could, open the door and help carry everything in. There was another car. I called back to the gas station, be like, okay, please keep it there. They are on their way. But there is some issues, but they're getting there. Please hold the trailer, which they very kindly did. So we ended up getting the trailer, and we got everything to the venue hours after we were originally scheduled to, but hey, we had a trailer, we had all of the gear at the venue eventually. Jasper, I think, ended up working basically through the night just to get everything set up. We spent so much time with that. But somehow, amidst all of that, we managed to make it work. And we got BSG Annual 2017 on the road. There were so many moments in those days, or during that event, that we were moments away from just having to call quits. And somehow we ended up pulling through all of them. Just by, honestly, sheer improvisation. Yeah. That was quite the event. We managed to make it work, though. That was really, in many ways, also when BSG really started to grow. I think that was because we were like the marathons weren't small before that point, but they were definitely not very big. And that event really kind of gave us a massive boost. Okay, so a quick recap on what's been going on in the game, because we've been talking a fair bit about BSG, and just to give a bit of an idea. So like I said, we need to collect the 4 crystals. The first of the 4 crystals is actually in this dungeon. We finally made it to the dungeon after blowing up that canal just now. But before we actually can go down into the cave further, we need to get the Earth Rod. But in order to get that, we need to get a ruby for a giant to eat so that he'll allow us passage. And then once we get to the bottom, we can fight the first major boss of the game, the Lich, to get our first crystal, the Crystal of Earth. Yeah, BSG Annual 2017 was our first. We're still on the BSG channel back then. The first one on the ESA channel was BSG Annual 2018. It was a year later. But we did get front page. We'd gotten in touch with somebody at Twitch, Sinister, who was a massive help there. That immediately boosted the channel a lot. It ended up what got this channel partnered. So that was very exciting. And then BSG Annual 2018, like a year later, which was still at that same venue, still with the cable through the roof. The cable had been taken down in between, of course, but heading into Annual, we got the same arrangement. They got us the cable through the roof, and that was the first one where we streamed on the ESA channel as well. Which then made the viewership so much bigger. We got front page once again. I'd actually, that same year, been in touch with Sinister IRL. Like, I actually met him at the ESA leading up to that BSG, I think. So we kind of had already gotten most things arranged just going into it. And that was really one of our first events that was just really big. And then the BSGBs happened, but I'm sure you'll hear a lot more about BSGBs as this weekend progresses. Yeah, the BSGBs, that was basically, long story short, and again, you'll probably hear more about BSG Annual 2018 as we go. Everybody got sick. But yeah, it was quite the event. Even despite that event had probably even more improvisation. I would almost argue even more improvisation than the original BSG Annual did, because everybody was getting sick. So at some point we were just scraping for volunteers, for runners, we somehow kept it going. We managed to make everything work, but yeah, there were like the early BSG Annuals had so many close calls. And then last year's was just such a different event. Annual 19, we had gotten a hotel arranged, which actually is kind of a funny story as well. So we've been wanting to go to a bigger venue for a little while. Because we'd been in that scouting venue for 2 years, but it was notably getting too small. It was a pretty sizable venue. It was definitely, especially for like a Boy Scouts building, it was probably one of the bigger ones that you could find. But it was notably getting too small. So a few people have been contacting hotels to see if we could arrange a hotel for Annual 2019, but without much luck, because they always ended up just being too expensive. And then literally, like, the BSG December, we were talking about that, and on the way back, I figured, okay, you know what? I've not been involved with venue scouting at all because that wasn't like there were other people working on that, but we hadn't gotten much luck. We had set the deadline to New Year's Day. We'd arranged with the scouting venue that we would be looking for a different venue, but that they would keep the date reserved for us just in case we couldn't find one, and they would keep it until New Year's. Then we would tell them if we would be back there for a third year, or we'd found something bigger that would suit our requirements a little bit more. Yeah, 18 we already wanted one, but we just couldn't get it before the deadline, and 19 was cutting it really close as well. So that December, like literally 3 weeks before the deadline, I contacted a hotel near where I worked at the time. And because I kind of knew one of the owners through work, so I figured, okay, you know what, it's worth a shot. So I contacted them, told them what we were, who we are, what we do, what the idea was. They were a little bit confused at first, but we made an appointment for a meeting on site at the hotel itself. That was at the time me and Rashla. None of the other organizers were available for that time slot. So we, like, Rashla as one of the staff members, he joined in. So we went there, we got a tour of the place. It was fully Christmas decorated, which is, it looked absolutely stunning though. But it was fully in Christmas decorations and everything. And we sat down, we talked about it, and we managed to come up with an agreement. Well, at first it was still very iffy if we were gonna get it done, because the venue would normally close during the night, so they would need to arrange something with that. So the guy who gave us the tour was like, okay, I'm gonna have to discuss this with my superiors. I told them we had a deadline of New Year's Day, like before the turn of the year we would need to know it. Which, you know, that was basically our last chance of getting a venue. December 31st comes around, we still don't have an answer. December 31st, 6 p.m., still no answer. And then about 5.5 hours before midnight, on the 31st, we got the okay that it was going to be possible. They had arranged someone to be there during the night shifts. They had... They figured we could make it work, which, by the way, they didn't end up charging us more for. So, like, the original price arrangement still stood, which was barely in budget, but it was within budget. And that's where BSG Annual 9... That's where BSG Annual 2019 then happened, which was an absolutely fantastic event. It was... Like, the venue was so much bigger. We got a hotel. We had 2 rooms, one for streaming, one for, like, practice and board games and whatnot. It was a lot more sizable. The guy at the hotel, who you'll probably hear more about a lot, Michael, he was... Like, he was basically our night guard of sorts. He ended up actually joining the event. He was one of the runners for the work run, which was like the before last run or so, I think, like at the very end of the marathon. And the hotel staff as well, it exceeded all of their expectations. They actually told us that afterwards as well. They even as things started, they didn't really know what to expect. I mean, they knew it was a gaming event, and they knew that we were going to be playing games throughout the night, and that it had something to do with charity, but they didn't really know what we were actually doing, and they didn't really know what kind of people to expect, and like one of the owners actually told us that we completely exceeded all of their expectations, even their best expectations. Just how nice everyone was, how respectful everybody was, how, what we did for charity, the way that we did it. And we pretty much right then and there already agreed that we were going to be able to do it for the year after. It took a few weeks to get all the paperwork done, but back then it was kind of already, like, we kind of already knew, yeah, this is... They would not mind having us back. But yeah, Michael was an absolute legend. Like, I remember at some point him just coming in and being like, hey, I noticed you guys have quite a bit of food, because obviously, like, we couldn't... we were allowed to bring in food from our own, but only have it in the BSG areas. And at some point he was like... or he suggested to us to see if he could get a fridge ready for us so that, we had something to keep our food cold. And later on, he came with a microwave and, like, all sorts of stuff like that. It was so good. He was so helpful. Oh, by the way, the boss that I just killed, that's the Lich. That's the probably the first really big run killer in this game. We just passed him, no problem. Yeah, that was... and we were supposed to be back for BSG Annual 2020 there as well. Unfortunately, circumstances didn't allow that, which was really unfortunate, but it is what it is. But yeah, that hotel was absolutely worth it. Like, considering how close to the deadline it's been at times, we got quite lucky with even getting the venue in the first place, but I don't think anyone regretted moving there, even though it's a little bit on the outskirts of the country. So yeah, the reason that boss just now, by the way, is actually dangerous is he has a move that can one-shot my entire party, because we are severely under-leveled at this point. But luckily he went for a normal attack. If Lich had gone for Blazara, which is his more powerful magic attack, then he would just instantly one-shot all of us. Another note that I should probably make, the reason we kill everything so easily and so quickly is I glitched the sword on everybody. That sword you normally only get as a reward for beating the hardest super boss in the game. It can only be equipped by the warrior or knight. Now, because of the glitch, I can actually equip it to more characters, but normally it would only be equipable by warrior or knight. And it is, just to give a little bit of an idea of how strong that sword is, you may have heard of a weapon called Excalibur, legendary sword and whatnot. Yeah, this sword is about 3 times more powerful, and grants you an additional strength boost. So yeah, every boss is gonna go down with no problem at all. Yeah, that was another cool little thing. I actually knew that as well, but BSG Annual 2019 had a McDonald's across the street. So we've had a fair few people stop by there regularly. And another fun thing I remember, somebody mentioned to me at some point that they were at the supermarket, and somebody asked them about the badges, and they mentioned there was a speedrunning event, and there was a teen who asked it, and that same teen mentioned, oh hey, one of my teachers is a speedrunner. Which at the time was kind of funny because they didn't realize that teacher was me, considering I'd been working in that town for like 4 years or so at the time, or nearly 5 years. 4 years? Yeah, 4 years at the time. So just funny little things like that. I realized later that teacher was me, which is kind of funny. Yeah, that BSG Annual 19 was absolutely our best event ever. I don't doubt that was the best BSG. And in a way, it's really weird how, at least for me, things went. Because I came into BSG 5 years ago to the day, where just as a runner. Like, I ran some Final Fantasy, it was a Dutch event, it wasn't too far off, I was like, you know, I'll submit. And then going from that to becoming a staff member after BSG 3, I started doing scheduling, to becoming an organizer, like, towards the end of that year. Initially as, like, doing finances and whatnot. And yeah, here we are today. We've had quite the journey with BSG, that's for sure. BSG 2017 is still going to be special for me, mostly knowing at how many points oh yeah, there are... BSG Annual 2017 definitely had so many moments where everything could have gone wrong. Between just the entire preparation, or entire day zero, the road trip we had to do to try and just get all of the gear, we had to at some point hot swap a hard drive in the, or no, hot swap a CPU, I think, in the stream PC. I don't remember exactly, but we had to just GPU. Thank you. But yeah, we had to completely swap one of the things which we somehow, by sheer coincidence, had a backup for. We had to swap that in the stream PC whilst the marathon was already going on, because we were just having too many tech issues. I don't remember the exact details, I just remember that being something. Yeah, we've had some adventures along the way, but honestly, like, the thing that'll always be even more so BSG to me than everything else is just the community we've built around it. I've met so many people through BSG, and many of which I currently consider to be some of my best friends. And, you know, in a way, I'm very grateful that for the part that I've been able to play as BSG has been going, and for the people that I've met along the way. Can we please run? This enemy is actually scary. Maybe I should have killed it. Ice Cave, by the way, we're technically not supposed to be here yet. This dungeon is normally later. And it has some of the biggest run killers in the game in here. This dungeon's easily the place that I'm the most likely to die in. Okay, so we're gonna grind a little here, get our levels a little bit more up to speed, but only for the mages. I'm actually gonna defend with everyone. That's not what I wanted to see. Although it might not be too bad, because now a Thundara would do. Come on. So I'm waiting for Thundara. Thundara immediately kills... This is actually annoying. That is... that is terrible. If that death had been on any other character, I would have been fine with it, but the white mage just sucks. I didn't mean to do that. Did not mean to do that. There we go. This is what I was waiting for. Okay, so we're gonna heal them back up to full, and now we need to grind them. This will take a few minutes. Yeah, the idea here is I need certain spells later on, and in order to get those spells, I need to hit level 19. Otherwise, I can't learn level 5 spells. Which means I need to grind. Sorry, cat's being a little bit of a pain. Okay. I'm gonna quickly check what our levels are at. 17 for both. Good. The problem is the levels are now out of sync because the evil eye managed to defeat Frosty. I need to do 2 more. 2 more and then we're done. Yeah, so the reason I killed off the other 2 characters is they would otherwise just take up too much experience. Experience gets spread across however many characters are alive, so more characters alive means more, or more fights needed for the same amount. Yeah, I think the cat's settled for a spot on my lap, which I am fine with. If you randomly see a tail appear on stream, that's why. Although he seems to just lie down, which is good with me. Okay, that is the second white dragon. I want to point that out because the white dragon is a 1 in 64 encounter here. It is the rarest thing for me to find. It's also the deadliest encounter. Okay, we're out of Cavern of Ice. That wasn't a good Cavern of Ice, but we're out. So yeah, the reason we had to do this is that stone that I picked up during the grind allows us to get an airship, and we need that airship in order to be able to go to certain locations. What we were supposed to do, story-wise, is go get the fire crystal, then do the class upgrade dungeon, and then go to Cavern of Ice, but hey, ain't nobody got time for that. This order is much faster. Actually, it's not that much faster, but it is a little bit faster. That is kind of funny, Recult. We didn't have this, I guess we didn't have the Omnibar before, or during this layout, did we? Yeah, so the layout you're currently seeing was used for all of the BSGs up to our first BSG Annual, and then I think for BSG Annual we had a different layout, which you'll probably see at some point this weekend as well. And I think it's towards... I'm really hoping I'm not saying this wrong now. I went a little bit off course there. See? I think it's BSG Annual 2019 that we switched to the layouts that we currently have. It's just an extra little throwback to all of the... work, all of the layouts. Just that little reference to the layouts from the earlier BSG, and I think they're mostly tied in with the runners. I think they've done some very cool stuff with how that's gonna look this weekend, which I'm very curious to see as the weekend progresses. Okay, so, we got the airship, and you might be wondering why I am still walking here. After all, the way that the airship works in this game is you can only use it on grass tiles. Not a grass tile, you can't land on it. So I need to go to the Citadel. That's an interesting little route change that happened a few years ago, where it turns out that actually doing the class change is faster than, or on average faster than the other strategy we would have had otherwise. But we're getting quite unlucky. In general, this run, we haven't had great RNG this run. Still on pace to beat Estimate, no problem, but not great RNG. Yeah, quick teleporter mace. Yeah, when I ran this 5 years ago at the very first BSG, this dungeon wasn't in. This was only routed in later. Are we on pace for a world record? No, not even close. I retired from this game about a year and a half ago, after the Final Fantasy tournament. And I've really only started to pick it up again because of the BSG Lustrum. My time is still not bad, but the route has changed quite a bit, and there are faster strats now. Yeah, the idea is we need to get to the Rat's Tail so I can do a class change. That class change is very, very worth it. Yeah, the tile I got the nightmares on is actually a spiked tile. You will always get nightmares on that tile. That's a static encounter. Yeah, that's a thing. See, this is what I mean with, like, you can randomly just lose a lot of time. This is not actually that difficult an encounter to run from, although the slow isn't going to help. We get the Rat's Tail, get out of here. I was about to say, we should easily be level 19, but I wanted to double check that. So normally I would heal around here somewhere. We are going to soon, but I'm waiting for a spell that we're going to pick up in just a minute, as soon as I can run from this encounter and get back to my airship. But yeah, our luck has been atrocious so far for most of this run. Like, a lot of encounters that just haven't allowed me to run. So that'll slow us down. The estimate accounts for that happening, though, so we should be okay. As long as nothing too stupid happens, we'll be okay. I may have, Jasper. I may have. Yeah, so FF1 is like FF1 has been run a lot at BSG. Like I said, it's one of the it's probably the game that's been run the most. Over the years, runs have been done by me, Boxmeister, Jasper, Indy, which I think, except for Boxmeister, you'll see all of those this week, all of those people this weekend. I'm trying to think if there was anyone else that I'm missing. I feel like I've definitely missed somebody still, but there have been a number of people at BSG that ended up running this. Yeah, so the quest gets us class upgrades, and those class upgrades allow me to learn certain spells that I wouldn't otherwise be able to learn. That's the general idea. That's why we get the class change right there. We get teleport. The teleport I wouldn't have been able to learn without class change. Hilara becomes more powerful, which just makes that a lot easier as well. We're also going to learn Haste. That's going to be for the final 2 bosses. Oh. Oopsie. And then just the general better stats make the game a little bit easier. The difference isn't huge or anything, but it's enough to be significant. Yeah, here I can just heal and then go through this dungeon. This dungeon isn't dangerous as long as you make sure to keep up with your health. Lava tiles don't actually give an encounter. Hashtag BSG lava boost. But yeah, the lava tiles don't actually give an encounter, except the downside is you do take 1 damage every step you take on a lava tile. So we want to use them as much as possible, but I need to make sure that I keep up with my health. Otherwise, you can die, and dying would be kind of bad. The Hellhounds can be runnable depending on what they're with, so I'm not gonna risk it here. Okay, the Fire Elemental is also a 1 in 64 encounter, so I just want to point out how rare it is that we saw 2 of them back to back. Like I was about to say, this was actually a kind of a decent Mount Gulg, and then we got 3 encounters in that last stretch. Okay, so that is the second really big boss that we need to do, and that gets us the second crystal. The next 2 crystals generally go quite fast. Ooh, we actually got a golden apple. That's a really rare drop. Very useful, though. Yeah, I'm trying to think of more like really memorable moments at BSG. The annuals kind of always stood out, but even outside of the annuals, we've had some fantastic times together, both at the space and our current location, the esports game arena. I always find it kind of funny, like whenever we're at the game arena, we've always had pretty good contact with the staff there. And one of the staff members, and I always find it funny when he says it like that, is he at the end of almost every marathon, he mentions how he appreciates how much of a community BSG has become. You know, how that community feel is just so visible during the marathons. Which I just always think that's kind of cool. That, like, and I feel like that's true for most people who arrive at a BSG IRL the first time. Like, generally speaking, everyone's welcome. Or, well, really, everyone's welcome. Period. Some people have a harder time with that than others, but... Oh, dude, farming night! Bad RNG, yeah, that's a good one. We did a farming. That was something. We once had a night shift at the Awesome Space where we did just farming simulator games. I did a Harvest Moon speedrun. Bad RNG did a Stardew Valley speedrun. That was something. I think we had. I want to say we had one more, but I think it might have also just been those two. And that was such a those were really good. Those were really fun runs too. I really want to relearn Harvest Moon sometime soon. At the time, that BSG run was actually the world record for a little while, but the route has completely changed. They've managed to completely tear that game to pieces. So it used to be about a 4-hour run. I think world record is now down to like 2.5 or something, or maybe even 2. They found so many new glitches in that game that just completely change how that run goes. So I kind of want to relearn that and see how it works. Also, they found RNG manip in that game, which, but yeah, farming night. Like we had a lot. We've had a fair few themed events like that. I remember we had around Halloween at some point we had Spoopy Night, where we played horror games. I think we had Outlast, we had Alien Isolation, and we had Luigi's Mansion. Spoopy Night. The Luigi's Mansion was just the perfect finish to that block. We've had over the years we've had a fair few moments where we were able to do things like that. Just completely, I don't know, just showcase the many weird and fun things that we've had over the years. Yeah, this is probably the dungeon you'll get lost in the most. Like this is the dungeon that the beginning runners always struggle with. Just the layouts is weird. You have to go up and then down. I don't know. It's a weird dungeon, but we need to get here first for the Rosetta Stone. That'll help us learn a new language, which we need in order to get to the air crystal. Okay, so going down the dungeon, we're going to get to the third crystal. This dungeon also has a ton of unrunnables, which we kind of need to pay attention to. Did we ever get a better guide? No, I think so, Jasper. I think somebody ended up making a pretty solid guide. But I honestly don't remember. Especially with the route having changed even more now. Yeah, Blazin, it's Mind is an organization surrounding mental health. They've done fantastic work, and they've been a fantastic charity to work with as well. They've been tremendously supportive of BSG. I mean, for this particular event, and that's another thing I guess we haven't really mentioned, but over the years we've actually done a few things charity-wise. Like when we started BSG, we actually didn't support a charity for the better part of a year. It's only around, like BSG was started by Jasper around February, well, this weekend 5 years ago. I think it's around November that we first decided we were going to support a charity, which was an interesting experience as well, because it suddenly required so many things that we needed to do. And we've had help from so many different people along the way. Managed to make that work in every sense of the word. And then we supported, like, we had a community vote around that time to see what we were going to do, which charity we were going to support. We ended up supporting the Dutch Cancer Society for a few years, and then more recently, we decided to switch charity, and in many ways, we actually did it the same way that we originally did. We had a bit of like, we didn't have the entire community vote for it, but it really is one of those places where the community has had its role. We narrowed down the list a little bit, just to make it a little bit more manageable. We talked to several charities and had the community vote for which charity they preferred. Oh yeah, at the start for sure. And I remember the first event that we did do charity. I think we were both kind of in a position where we were like, well, if we raise like $50, then we can be proud. And we ended up raising, I think, $350 on the first event alone. Which I think the first one especially exceeded all of our expectations. Oh yeah, that's true, yeah. I remember that. We actually did apply to them. Or we did, I think, yeah. They just didn't want our money. Yeah, they actually refused. Because they only do, they only have events that are directly tied to them. So it was basically either we tie our name to them, or we support someone else. So they kind of refused. Like, that was definitely on the initial list of charities we wanted to support. And they didn't go for it. They didn't want it. Yeah, we couldn't donate unless we got partnered. Or we could donate, but not in a more official fashion. We got in touch with the Dutch Cancer Society. We've worked together with them for a few years. And then about a little like leading up to BSG annual, like, we first did an event for the Red Cross, which was also on the list of events we were potentially going to be working with. They were really helpful as well. And we've definitely had a good, I've had a good bit of contact with them, and then with Mind as well. And we ended up going with Mind, and they've just been such a fantastic charity to work with. Like, we actually, leading up to this event, the Lustrum, despite us not raising money for it, they still send us a message to congratulate us and to wish us luck and fun with the Lustrum event. I'll see if I can share the. Well, actually, Captain, since you're in the voice with me anyway, it might be worth sharing that message with the rest. I think I've only shared it with staff at some point, but
Yes.
might be applicable here as well.
I'll put it on Twitter.
Sounds good. So yeah, check out our Twitter for the message they send us. It was really wholesome, honestly. Actually, we're just gonna run from this. I guess I made the wrong decision to run from this. I guess I should have just attacked it. Nightmares are one of those encounters now that I can run from them, and usually it's faster, but sometimes it's not. Yeah, with both of the charities I've worked with, they've been quite helpful in just getting things set up. And we've been able to do, like, that's probably something that I'm more proud of than anything. It's just BSG has been able to do so much good over the years. Both in terms of just the charities, of course, in terms of the charities that we've supported, but also just in terms of the amount of people at the events. And sure, we've had our ups and downs, and we've made many mistakes along the way, but I think we've the position that we're in is something we can absolutely be proud of. Bit of a slow menu. The ribbon actually doesn't do much for me defensively, but the main reason I want that ribbon is it gives me protection from just about every single status affliction. So it gives me 50% resistance to things like fire and whatnot. It also, I think, prevents me from being put to sleep. Every elemental-based status effect, basically. Wait, this way. Needed to think about that for a moment. I've done a few practice runs leading up to the Lustrum, but I'm definitely not in full shape yet. So I'm just hoping to go through a run without any major mistakes, which so far seems to be working out. Yeah, this is the first run. We've literally only just begun the celebration. Yeah, basically, we talk to this guy so that we learn a language. Lufenian. We need that in order to get the chime. Yeah, with any on-site marathons, what I've felt out very strongly with BSG in general is the marathon itself is really fun, and it's very fun to be there and to showcase your games and whatnot. But the biggest thing with the marathon is what happens on site. The people that you have around you, the just interacting with people, the friends you make, playing board games in the board game room, playing video games together, that sort of stuff. That's really what cements BSG for me as the event that it is. And I think that's something that makes it so much more to me than just an on-site marathon, or even just a marathon in general. only it was that easy to learn languages in real life. Yeah, you could say that again. That was a pretty good trip to the Chime. Seeing everyone rock out to Guitar Hero, yeah, absolutely. I mean, the best parts probably, like last year's annual, I've spent a lot of time in just the board game room playing board games. We had a big table in the center where everybody just kind of put their board games where they like, yeah, you can play it just as long as you make sure everything stays together. And we've made very good use of that. Oh, that's... I was wondering what Duncan was doing. It's the official BSG mascot. I completely forgot I had that around here. He's been sitting on the shelf for a little while. Yeah, the turtle you see there, that's the official BSG mascot. At some point we had to make a mascot because we got partnered, we got emote slots, and we were like, okay, what are we gonna do for our emotes? And we ended up basing it off of one of the plushies because people would always bring plushies to BSG. If you've seen pictures of BSG Annual, you'll have seen a lot of them. But we kind of ended up basing it off of the plushies, or of one of the plushies, specifically Indy's turtle plushie. So we had that. We based the emotes off of that, and then to add to it, I bought a plushie, like the same plushie but just one size bigger, basically, and that's the turtle that you now see. Honestly, getting that and having it on stream with me today hadn't even crossed my mind yet, but it is very fitting for it to be there. Like that's fitting. So yeah, we're actually getting quite close to the end of this game. We still have a little bit to do, but after, we've got this tower, which is literally just one more floor. After that, we are going into the before last dungeon. Now, the last dungeon is a fairly long one. That one usually takes about 15 minutes to do, just because it's huge, but we're still at around a 135 pace, which is, considering the RNG, not even that bad. Yeah, this is the Flying Fortress. This is the before last dungeon in the game. So this next floor is always a confusing one because it kind of just loops around. Okay, gotta be careful I don't use teleport here. I will heal and save here because there is an encounter here that can be kind of dangerous. M3, that's Hank, the official BSG mascot. How could you not recognize Hank? Yeah, this is Tiamat, last big boss before the final, before we enter the final dungeon. This will get us the 4th and last crystal. Well, that is, Oh, it's good to see the BSG lava boost again, by the way. I've missed that emote. Yes, you did, Stark. I've kind of been ignoring my own chat for the most of it here. We'll pet the plushie. There you go. The dungeons you see unlock in between, by the way, those are bonus dungeons. This is the last of the 4 bonus dungeons. Well, technically there's one more bonus dungeon that we're going to unlock in a moment. Okay, we're gonna get to our airship. I want to start our last little bit of this game, but I will say there is gonna be a lot left in this marathon as a whole. I remember, like, the idea to even do this celebration stream was kind of a somewhat unplanned thing in true BSG fashion. I mean, we've had our fair bit of time to prepare for it, and I think things have come together quite well. But in true BSG fashion, it's definitely been a little shorter notice than you might have otherwise wanted. And we were just going over the entire list of people that we wanted in the marathon, and we couldn't even make it work. There have been so many people to this event that have been so significant as the time has progressed that it's really cool. It's just really cool that we've gotten so many people together for this. Including some people who haven't actually been to BSG in quite some time. That's a really good first stretch. So encounters in this place are kind of awful, especially in the early parts of, well, no, really in the entire dungeon, but encounters here are kind of awful. But getting through this without it being too awful is really good. That was a really good first stretch. Saved like 40 seconds on just that one stretch. Good stories about lava boost in Indy. Well, M3, I believe you have a run later today, don't you? So plenty of time to talk about it. There's so many stories in BSG between the many marathons we've done on, like, at the event itself. The annuals, we've done a lot of external events as well, which have been really cool. Just showcasing speedrunning to a really broad audience, like a Dutch Comic-Con, a first look at quite a few events in Belgium. Like, it's really been, like, and that's the other part. Speedrunning between now and 5 years ago has come a long way as well. Just how much more mainstream it has started to become. It's definitely not, like, the most mainstream thing to do, but there's been a very gradual change in that sense as well. So from this floor on, we're gonna get a refight against all of the big bosses. A refight with all of the big bosses that we fought over the course of this. We're gonna start with the 4 elemental fiends, and then we're gonna fight Garland one more time at the very end. Yeah, this guy is a little bit scary. This guy has got Flare, and that's pretty deadly at this point. I'm a little bit worried about the Black Mage's HP. Recalt's HP is kind of low. Luckily, I should probably just do that now. We got a golden apple. Now, that's not a huge difference, but it increases his max HP by 10, which can actually still make quite a difference. Yeah, so the thing with the final boss coming up, by the way, is we kind of want everyone to at least have 200 HP. Recalt is not going to get that. I will say Captain has way more HP than we normally have. Generally, the Thief is... So, if he... Like, Thief and Black Mage are the ones that are usually the most finicky. Those are often not over 200. So Captain being at nearly 300 is really good. But I am admittedly a little worried about Recalt's HP. Like, before this run started, I kind of asked every one of the organizers except Box which one they wanted to be. Because I figured it'd be a cool little nudge to my fellow organizers of BSG to have their names as the main names here. And defend staff. So the one good thing about these fights, I guess, in a way, is that it's gonna give me some extra experience, maybe buff Recalt a little bit, but it seems that Recalt is getting like low rolls on experience. The way that stats work in this game is you always either get the maximum boost or the minimum boost due to a little bug in the game. So you either get the maximum amount of extra HP or the lowest side. Oh, I am aware of that moment, and it is, but I've kind of been purposely not mentioning the big Dark Souls bid war because there are several other runners that are more fitting to talk about it. But what I will say about the bid war, and that's the part that still kind of stands with me now, we once had a really big bid war going on at a BSG, just a regular BSG monthly. Which is actually the one that I did my like 10-hour run, and I remember going to bed that day, and the donation counter was at like 300 something, I think 333 I want to say, and so I went to bed and I was like, okay, well if we hit like 1,000, that would be really big. I doubt that we would hit that. And a couple of hours later, I think it was like I went to bed at like 7:30 a.m., 8 a.m. And I remember around noon, Jasper calling me to wake me up and be like, we just passed 1,000 and we're still going. You will want to see this. That's the big bid war he's talking about in Dark Souls. But I think since we have, I believe Broad is running Dark Souls this weekend. Indy is running as well, who's been a big part of that event. So I suspect we may hear more about that. Golden Staff. Thirst. Yeah, we kind of ended up hitting a little bit more than 1k there. It all happened during a run of Kinnons, yeah. Yeah, this is Garland again, but now in his more powerful form, also known as Chaos. Time is when this guy flashes white at the end. I'm only gonna need one Giant's Tonic, I think. Oh. I kind of want a physical attack on this first turn. That's really bad. Black Mage is gonna die here. This is gonna be an iffy fight now. Oh, he lived at 3 HP. Never mind. We're alive. Let's go. Recalled survived at 3 health. The clutch. So yeah, the Giant's Tonics buffs their max HP by 200 for the duration of one fight. That's how we now have recalled it high enough that he won't die anymore. There is no... Well, we have Phoenix Downs, which I can use, but it still gets us in an annoying little loop. Okay, but anyway, get ready on time. We are actually not that far off. This was a really good final dungeon. We were like 135 pace going into this dungeon. It's going to be like a 133. Yeah, from here, the fight is basically just hold X to win. Time. That's a... Okay, 132.13 for a rather rusty run. That's actually a really solid time. That was a really good final boss, too. So, yeah. I hope you guys enjoyed Final Fantasy. You'll probably see me again over the course of this marathon. As I'll be hosting a little bit tomorrow. And I've got a few interviews with people tomorrow. Enjoy all of the celebratory events. This weekend is quite a special weekend. Just everyone finally getting together and us just celebrating the 5-year anniversary. I'll definitely be over in Voice a few times to just chat with people. And if you're not in the BSG Discord already, I can strongly recommend joining us there as well for some good old-fashioned fun. So yeah, that'll be it for me for now. I'm going to throw it back to Captain. And I believe we've got Quirk next, which is... I mean, what is a BSG celebration without Quirk? Let's be very...
It would be a BSG celebration.
Yeah, exactly. It just wouldn't be the same. Yeah, thank you everybody, and enjoy the rest of the event.
Thank you, Crrool. We will be heading into a small intermission while we will set up Quirk. It's gonna be a race. Of course it's gonna be a race. Up next we have Beth Chiara versus the Plumber himself. Both Quirk veterans. I think they both had world records at some point. But it's gonna be hype. I'm having fun. I'm gonna host it as well, so see you soon.